I tried to warn you, Chiefs Kingdom, as it seems like the Chiefs were only built up to be brought right back down as they are no longer in the running for DeAndre Hopkins. At least that's what the reports are for right now. So we'll discuss those reports, and if they are, we'll discuss what other routes the Kansas City Chiefs may use to get a receiver or a top potential number one moving forward. But before we do get into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. It was a tough morning for Chiefs Kingdom, as it was only inevitable that this day was going to come. Again, as a Chiefs Kingdom and part of Chiefs Kingdom, we build ourselves so high up for one of these key potential all-star type of players, and at the end of the day, the Kansas City Chiefs tend to not get them. And it hurts us more than usual because we imagine what next year can be like with the DeAndre Hopkins or any player that we have tried to picture on this team in the past. And today we got reports, well, I think the first initial reports is, and a lot of people didn't take it serious, was Pac-Man Jones was on the Pat McAfee show and he listed 5 teams that he feels are heavily interested in DeAndre Hopkins, and he didn't list the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I was indifferent about that report. Now, I do know Pac-Man Jones is very close with DeAndre Hopkins, but it's crazy, and I even mentioned it on Twitter as well, as how crazy these sources and reports can get, because one team Pac-Man Jones did mention was the New England Patriots. But less than 24 hours ago, Albert Breer mentioned that the New England Patriots are out of the DeAndre Hopkins running. So what is it? It just seems like nowadays anyone just wants to throw 5 teams out there and hopefully they hit the dart and they can say, I reported it first. Like, it doesn't seem like anything is legit nowadays. So we just have to wait and see until a trade actually happens with DeAndre Hopkins. But we also had another report coming out, and I am drawing a blank on the name. I was about to say it's Tom Pelissero, but it wasn't. I will pop it up right here on the screen for you guys. But it's that the Buffalo Bills are now heavy favorites to land DeAndre Hopkins, and that the Kansas City Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens would still like to land DeAndre Hopkins, but due to cap situations that they may not be able to do that. And it's what Chiefs Kingdom figured as well. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, if they wanted to, they can easily make room for DeAndre Hopkins by either extending Chris Jones or restructuring a few contracts. But we know Brett Veach, it's like he likes to work so tight around the cap. He's just not going to open up cap space just for the hell of it. You guys should know that by now. But also, I would still extend Chris Jones. Even though it opens up cap space, you need to lock down Chris Jones for the rest of his Kansas City Chiefs career, actually his career in general. Because I'm getting impatient in that aspect as well, because I know he won't be traded. At least I hope not. But it's bringing me very similar to the days of last year, which it's exactly the day of when Tyreek Hill was traded to the Miami Dolphins. There was speculation, and it seemed like it was signed, sealed, and delivered that Tyreek Hill would be a Kansas City Chief next year. And that's all we got. It's like, oh, he's so close to an extension, it's going to get done. And then he was traded. And that seems like it's the same thing with Chris Jones. Even though we never got full initial reports that, oh, they're close to a deal, it's just like, how come it's not done? He deserves his money, he should be paid, and let's just move forward. Now, I know it takes much more than saying, sign it and we're done, but it seems like for someone of his caliber, he definitely deserves to be paid top 2, maybe not even 2, because he can surpass Aaron Donald. I think he definitely deserves that $25 million a year. It's going to be interesting to see how this all folds out. I just hope, and he probably will be a Kansas City Chiefs, but I'm not going to say I don't get kind of the slightest chill in the back of my head thinking that, why hasn't this been done? Is something happening behind the scenes? I sure hope not, and I doubt it, but with something like that last year, I can't avoid the possibility that it could happen to Jones, but I highly doubt it. At least I cross my fingers. So you extend Jones, it opens up cap space, and you can bring in a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. It's just, how badly does Veach want a guy like that? And we're going to discuss that now, moving into if the Kansas City Chiefs don't get DeAndre Hopkins, and if they don't get Odell Beckham Jr., which, if you didn't catch my video yesterday, it basically seems like Odell Beckham Jr. is nearing a deal with the New York Jets, which is to be expected, honestly. Aaron Rodgers listed him on his basically list of players he wanted. Jets can open up more cap space. They can release Corey Davis and add him on the roster. And Aaron Rodgers will have a lethal bunch of weapons with McCole Hardman now over there too. So that could be interesting to see. So now we focus on maybe there will be a life without DeAndre Hopkins or Odell Beckham Jr. What do the Kansas City Chiefs do next? Well, I'm going to give you 3 ideas, and let's get right into that. Now, the first one is you focus on the draft. You stop trying to focus on who are the Kansas City Chiefs going to sign in free agency, because legit, anyone who's out there right now is not a number 1 wide receiver. And also, let's stop focusing on who should they trade for. Brett Veach knows how to build this team in the draft. Now, him and Reed don't have a sexy resume on who they draft as wide receiver, but maybe things change this year. So, as number 1, I'm saying the Kansas City Chiefs trade up for a Jackson Smith and Jigba, and if they can't go that high, then they trade up into the early 20s and get a Quentin Johnson or a Zay Flowers. And that can be your number 1 moving into the future. And I would literally have it listed at that. I would have it listed as Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then this is a toss-up for me. I'm leaning towards I want Zay Flowers more than Quentin Johnson, but either or would be perfectly fine. And I think any of those 3 guys can be a legit wide receiver number 1 in this system and in the NFL. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba, though, can be an elite top 5 wide receiver in this league. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs can somehow make some wiggle room, get a package together, and maybe jump in front of the Tennessee Titans. That's a lot, because I think they will be the first team heavily interested in Jackson Smith and Jigba. That means you got to get to 11. 31 to 11 is a hefty package that I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs can do. So if they can't, you focus in on a guy like Zay Flowers or Quentin Johnson and see if they can be a number 1 target in this league as well. I think they could fit into the system. Honestly, I think any wide receiver could fit into Andy Reid's offense. It's another thing that I get so iffy with, because we witnessed it time in and time out, and we saw it last year with Sky Moore, is for rookies, it takes forever to learn this offense. And I really don't need a receiver to be on the sidelines again for the whole year like Sky Moore was last year, and then the next year coming, he has his breakout year. No, I just need things to work and move smoothly and get them out there. I know it's asking a lot for a rookie, but we did it last year. We put a lot of rookies out there, and they got us to a Super Bowl and took home the Lombardi. So it can be done again as well. Those are 3 guys that the Kansas City Chiefs can trade up for. Now, my next thing would be still focusing on the draft and the Kansas City Chiefs just staying at their position. Now, you're not going to get those elite level talents like a Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers. Maybe if the board works in your favor, maybe one of them slide to you, but highly unlikely. So right here, I would be focusing on a guy like Josh Downs or the kid out of SMU. Yes, it might be a reach, but Rice. Now, we still got a month to go until the draft, but I feel like this is when the stock will start skyrocketing for a guy like Rice. I don't know if he'll slide himself into the first round. If he does, man, he is a physical dude. He's a ball hawk. He gets the ball, he makes plays, he knows how to pinpoint the ball, and he's very, very athletic. I could see him starting to be on a lot of teams' radars moving forward. I think he's easily a 2nd round pick. I just don't know. You got that gap from 31 then to 62. I don't know if you can get a guy like that at 62. So you might have to take a reach, and it might not even be a reach in the next 30 days. Now, I do like a guy like Josh Downs. He's explosive. He's physical as well for his stature. I think he's only, 5'9", 5'10", and he'd be pinpointing the ball, jumping over defenders like crazy as well. I think these guys have the capability of being a wide receiver number 1 in the league too. I think also what a lot of Chiefs Kingdom need to focus on more than anything is you still got Kadarius Toney. And maybe we just need to sit back and really take reports for what they are. When James Palmer said that the Kansas City Chiefs want to focus on Kadarius Toney being wide receiver number 1 next year, we should believe that, because it's obviously showing right now that they're not getting themselves heavily involved in free agency with wide receivers. And we're going to see how this draft unfolds. But whoever they draft is basically going to be a complement of Kadarius Toney. And then I believe Sky Moore, I believe he'll have a breakout year. But I believe it'll be mostly in the slot. So I think those will be your 2 guys. And then we know what MVS is moving forward. He's your basically deep threat guy. And hey, he's a dependable guy too when you need to count on him. So I definitely would love that too. It's just you need that other guy. So I think in the later round ones, you can get a guy like Josh Downs. And I think with his stock keep going forward, you can get a guy like, I think it's Rashee Rice. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. I think he will start, he's going to be like Sky Moore was last year, to where people thought he would start getting in there and he might slide into the first round. Same with Watson too, who got drafted by the Packers. Everyone thought they'd be first round picks, and then they ended up being mid-second round picks. That could be the same with Rice, where he could get hyped to where, wow, he might be taken in the first round, to where he could still be taken in the second. I just don't know if he'll be available at pick 62. Now, the absolute last thing, and I think it's the last thing the Chiefs Kingdom need to focus on as well, is Brett Veach can also still make a trade. He can make a trade for a guy like a Deontay Johnson out there. And I've seen the name mentioned, so we will talk about it, and I would love it, but this is so unlikely. I do not see this have a chance in hell happening. It is Brandon Ayuk. Those two guys could be legit number one receivers on this team and in this league. I know a lot of people say Deontay Johnson has bricks of hands and he drops a lot of passes too. But man, it could take some time, but he is also a lethal threat in this league. And when he has the ball in his hands, he is a playmaker. And I can just imagine him in this offense with Patrick Mahomes. That could be a lethal threat. And yes, I would love to have Brandon Ayuk on this team. It's just so unrealistic. Like, I don't see it happening. I don't think Kyle Shanahan would trade one of his top targets away to a contender, a Super Bowl contender at that, and kind of hurt his team. I know the San Francisco 49ers are mostly built as a running football team and built strictly on defense, but Ayuk fits that offense perfectly, and Debo fits that offense perfectly as well too. It's rare to find two wide receivers that mesh into a running scheme offense like that. Yes, it would be beautiful, and I would love it if breaking news happened one day that the Kansas City Chiefs traded for Brandon Ayuk. I just don't see it happening, honestly. So that's why I believe the Kansas City Chiefs, which Chiefs Kingdom got to get used to as well, is going to focus strictly on the draft. But more than that, they're going to focus on what they have in-house right now. They could still bring back a guy like Justin Watson, maybe even bring back a guy like Byron Pringle last year to add some more depth to that lineup. But right now, they want to focus on Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore being the future of this team. And I think that worries a lot of Chiefs Kingdom because we don't know what they're about because we haven't seen much of them. And it worries Chiefs Kingdom with Kadarius Toney because he could get hurt. And anyone could get hurt in this league. Things happen. But everyone says he has an injury history, so it concerns them a lot more. Try to think as positive as you can. What if he's healthy? Tell me he can't be a wide receiver number one. We've seen him already in less than a year make electrifying plays for the Chiefs in this offense. And Sky Moore too. We had a small glimpse of it against the Chargers where he looked like a great possession receiver and he's a great route runner and has really good hands. There is upside there. I understand it concerns a lot of us because we don't know the unknown and we fear the unknown. But the unknown can always be something positive. So with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to sign off on this video. You let me know how you feel about the DeAndre Hopkins reports that came out. You let me know where you feel the Kansas City Chiefs should find their wide receiver. Should it be in the draft? Should they trade up? Or should they make a trade for a receiver? With that, I will be signing out. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please give me that big thumbs up. Y'all take care.